How, when, and why is it easy to hang out with winners? How, when, and why is it hard to hang out with winners? How, when, and why is it easy to hang out with losers? How, when, and why is it hard to hang out with losers? All right, so what I want to do personally in life is to make it all easy, actually. But I don't want to make it all easy by avoiding difficulty. I want to make it all easy by having the right attitude about whatever I'm going through. So folks listening to this are going to have different experiences with respect to who it's easy to hang out with and who it's hard to hang out with. And the winner-loser binary or spectrum is just one way to split people up. But I think it's a useful one to then extrapolate from. For me, it's easy to hang out with winners when I'm in the right headspace, I want to learn, when they're not being hostile to me, although I'd like to be able to make that situation easy for myself also. And it's hard for me to hang out with winners when I'm feeling insecure, jealous, envious, when they are being hostile to me, when someone who knows what they're doing is pointing out all the ways that I don't know what I'm doing, but they're also not giving me the support, right? If you're challenging me, but you're not supporting me, that's very difficult. And yet, I am confident that there is a way for me to be grateful for and even enjoy that experience. Okay. What makes it easy? How is it easy? When is it easy to hang out with losers? Well, one way is this whole question of relativism, where we say, well, things are going bad for me, but look at that poor sucker. Things are going really, 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 really bad for them, right? We're talking about victors, winners, and victims, losers. Whether they're victims of external circumstances or their own conditioning, that we're going to leave for a different discussion. But what we're talking about right now is if we're hanging out with a victim, what makes it easy to hang out with a victim? Well, looking at how much better I'm doing than them, the ways I am victorious compared to the ways that they are suffering. But what makes it hard? If then I'm feeling guilt in response to my privilege, that can make it hard. And so I'm not really interested in that. Because remember, I'm trying to make it easy to hang out with losers. I'm trying to make it easy to hang out with winners. It's also hard to hang out with losers if I'm becoming a loser by hanging out with them, right? If there is any negative influence being visited upon me, then it's hard. So if it's a negative influence being visited upon me by being with a winner, that's hard. There's a negative influence I'm feeling from being with a loser, that's hard. How could there possibly be a positive influence that I'm experiencing by hanging out with a loser? That's actually a very solid answer for this. And it is, if I'm able to help them. If I'm able to help someone who's in a tough spot, someone who's not doing so well, there is a lot of evidence and experience supporting the thesis that is rewarding to me, that it's actually therapeutic for me when I'm therapeutic to someone else. It's helpful and supportive to me when I'm helpful and supportive to someone else. The mechanism of action for this, we're going to get into again in a future episode. Because sometimes people feel like, well, if I'm helping someone else, that's actually a sacrifice. I'm making. And that's true, but remember the word sacrifice and the word sacred have the same divine root. And so that's a bit of a clue as to the mechanism of action for how being helpful and supportive and a positive influence to someone else is actually helpful and supportive and a positive influence on me. If you are not too allergic to spiritual and holy language, what we're talking about is something like divine connection, humanitarian work. So going back to being around successful people, winners, rich, powerful, influential people. Well, remember, humanitarian work takes both a giver and a receiver. So the person receiving humanitarian help, the person receiving support and defense and promotion and enhancement and positive influence, the person receiving it is actually part of the humanitarian mission. They're on the receiving end of it. And that is as necessary and valid as the person who's on the expressive or giving end of humanitarian effort. So if I'm around powerful people and they're supportive of me and they want to help me, which is actually very common, especially when I remember that them making fun of me is often the way that strong, powerful, confident people express intimacy and demonstrate their interest in engagement, and that it's very possibly only my insecurity that results in a falling out or a rift or a fragmentation or a split or a division or a disunion. So that if I can get over myself, which this program is about, when we're talking about getting over fear of rejection, the bigger picture is actually getting over ourselves. When we're talking about the solution to rejection insecurity pathology, when we say, well, it's not just fear of rejection that we're talking about anger about rejection, sadness about rejection, both of which are about the past, right? You're angry about the past and you're scared and you're sad about the past. Or you're scared about rejection, which is about the future. We're scared of the future. What we're talking about is actually getting over ourselves. Getting over fear of rejection means getting over ourselves, because fear of rejection is just one small part of rejection insecurity pathology, and rejection insecurity pathology is just one small part of ourselves. Insecurity is just a part of myself, a part of all of ourselves. If I can get over myself, if I can start to be okay with being made fun of, if I can start to be okay with making fun of other people, then there's actually more fun to be had. You know, mockery, mimicry, satire, ridicule. If we're so confident, so intimate, and so immune to the tendency to be passive aggressive, then we can just say what's on our mind. On a bedrock of trust, on a foundation of love and intimacy, we can actually just say what's on our mind, be transparent with each other, and not have the result be that we're holding grudges against each other. That is the kind of thing that makes all these interactions more fun. It takes the taboo away from the distinctions and delineations or the gradations between different levels of losers and different levels of winners, all of which is actually just the same thing, right? Someone who's poor and someone who's rich, we're talking about the same thing, which is money. It's just some people have less of it, some people have more of it, but everyone has some amount of it. The same thing with winners and losers. It's all relative. So even a loser has some amount of what we're calling success. And the way to enhance and augment our success is by remembering that, by tapping into recognition of how much we have, which usually winners can help losers do. That's, for me, the main function that a winner can help a loser do, which is to stop with the self-pity, essentially, and boost the gratitude so that the wins can then compound on each other, because gratitude augments blessings. But when we focus on how cursed we are, what a raw deal we've gotten, which is something that other losers also perpetuate. When someone says to me, "Oh, poor you, you've gone through so much," for me, that's a red flag. And I'm actually very turned off by that kind of sympathy, that kind of pity, because I detect intuitively and now increasingly logically, as I've done deep dives on this phenomenon, on these mechanisms, I detect quicksand. That if I allow that kind of self-pity to take hold, either from my internal dialogue and monologue or from someone else who's, with the best of intentions, trying to console me, they're actually guiding me down a path of disempowerment, I have a visceral reaction against it. And that's why I've always been attracted to people who actually make fun of me. I've always admired people who don't entertain or amuse or suffer or indulge my grumpiness, my restlessness, my irritability, my discontentedness, but who rather have an instinct to try to snap me out of it. So we started the conversation talking about how, when, why is it easy to hang out with successful, rich, powerful, influential, dominant people? How, when, why is it hard to hang out with those people? How, when, why is it easy to hang out with poor, miserable, suffering, victimized, oppressed, self-pitying, timid, and withdrawn and contracted people? And when is it hard to hang out with those people? And actually what we discovered is that the kind of person is less relevant than the kind of influence that we are feeling as a result of our proximity to them. And then that their influence on us is actually even more a function of our interpretation of the way they're treating us than it is their actual behavior. So this is some next level, like, blue belt, brown belt, black belt, emotional karate when it comes to understanding these dynamics. But I'm just trying to work it out for myself in real time here, and I really am excited to put together an event, an ongoing experience where we can all hash this out together.